Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about how the Star Wars The Acolyte cancellation has taken a very odd turn to cause so much drama. So, as you all know, The Acolyte got canceled. Nobody's really surprised. I'm not surprised. The show had potential. Like I said before, it intrigued me with the first episode because kind of like, oh, okay, a mystery. What's going on over here? And some Jedi gonna turn bad, and the rise of the Sith. And so it's kind of like, okay, that intrigued me. But the execution just was not very good. The show had problems. The show had tons of problems. And, it was one of those things that you kind of just knew that cameo at the end was just out of desperation. But anyway, since it's been canceled, some strange stuff has been going on within both Disney and the Star Wars fandom. One thing that's interesting that I already said before was how Leslie Heglin threw Dave Filoni under the bus and revealed who's responsible for the forced lesbian witches and stuff. Another turn of events is Disney pulling the Acolyte merch from their website, and then when people got a whiff of that, they put it back the next day. That is interesting. Then another turn of events are people who actually like the Acolyte trying to get the show back on by doing a petition that is nearly reaching the goal that they wanted. And some of them are making some pretty interesting points online about, shows getting canceled too quickly. And did Disney pull this to make happy those toxic fanboys and stuff? Then a very disgusting turn of events is happening where people who are part of that toxic fandom are specifically targeting YouTubers online for liking the Acolyte and just skewering them and berating them online. So much to the point where one female creator has literally fled Twitter and went on over to Threads. This is disgusting behavior, but I'm not that surprised because of the simple fact the people who are hating on them are scumbag type guys and everything. And so with all this going on, there's so much stuff to decipher and everything. It's kind of was Disney right to pull the plug, or should they have given it a second season with that of a different showrunner? Why did they pull the merch? And in fact, the merch has actually been in a kind of weird limbo state even before the show got officially canceled and stuff. Then there is the showrunner herself. Is she solely responsible for this? Or were there too many cooks in the kitchen? AKA, do we have another WB Zack Snyder incident going on? And with her creating other stuff that some are good, some are bad, how did she fumble that football and everything? I've said this before, and I just said it a couple of seconds ago. The show just isn't that great. It's not great. It's not so much. It had potential to be great. Some might say it's good, some might say it's okay. But the thing is that there was a huge problem when it comes to the show, and no, diversity is not a problem. The problem was simply pacing. It took way too long to get to that mystery. The number of episodes. You can't tell an epic story and cram all this stuff in 8 episodes that are around 30 minutes. You need time for things to breathe and everything. So let's look at the problem with the show first. One, like I said before, the episode count and how long the episodes are. Some are 40, some are 50, some are mostly 30. If you're trying to tell a story, you need to pick a specific narrative and go with that. Trying to go with multiple narratives is never a good idea, especially when this is your first time on a different medium. Now, Leslie Hecklin. Before this show even actually I'll get into that a little bit later. Anyway, she is known for doing other projects. I've looked up her resume. 2 of those shows I've actually watched before. And I've said this before. She's pretty good at what she does. She's not great by no means, but she can, cut the mustard at times. She is mostly known for female-centered dark comedies. There are 2 in particular that I actually personally like. Russian Dolls, that's on Netflix. I've watched the first season. I love the first season. I have never seen the second one only because I don't do Netflix no more. I refuse to subscribe to them. We do not get along and I don't want Netflix no more. And so the second season took about 4 years to come out. Why? The pandemic screwed it up. During that time, the cast went on to other projects and everything. And so the second season was its last. Was it any good? Heck if I know. I don't know. But it was a good dark comedy and stuff. Now, in that show, there are 2 people from the Acolyte in there. One is Leslie's wife, which she tends to star in almost everything Leslie does. And the other person is that Yord guy. He was in that. And so, yeah, it's I will defend this first season of Russian Dolls because it was a good show. But like I said, I have no idea about the second. Then there is Single Drunk Female that was on Freeform. Most people don't check out Freeform. Most people don't know about it. But the show is solid. It is really good. I reviewed both shows, but just like I said, there was problems with character development and pacing issues in the show. See, Leslie has a problem with that. It tends to follow her in a couple of projects that she's attached to and stuff. And so with Single Drunk Female, I said this before. If the show is supposed to center around one particular character, it needs to center on that character. The other characters in the show, which also, by the way, her wife's in that show as well. If you're gonna have other characters, they need to be supporting characters, and that is what this cast is. It is not an ensemble piece. This is not Friends. This is literally centered around one particular character, and the other characters are side characters. These side characters are supporting characters that are supposed to help support that of the main character flow throughout the narrative or whatever it is you're writing. These characters should never, ever, ever, ever have scenes by themselves. If they have a scene, then the lead person should always be in the scene with them. For the most part, that is how season 1 was. But then you get to season 2 and things started to change. You started seeing other storylines going on with the other cast away from that of the main character. And I get it. These stars don't want to be in a show where they literally have to be buddy up with the main cast member, and they kind of want to explore their characters a little bit more. I get that. But, it doesn't always need to work out that way. Sometimes you just got to play the role that, your hand is given to you. And it got canceled after 2 seasons. Why? Don't particularly know. Maybe people didn't like the second season all that well. Or maybe, the network was changing because Freeform is acting kind of weird right now. They really don't have no current shows really going on right now, and everything's getting canceled. Even their app has deleted a bunch of their stuff. And by September 23rd, the Freeform app will be no more. So whatever shows that are on there that you can't find on another app, Most likely you're probably not, unless Hulu decides to put it back on their platform. And so those two shows were really good, you know what I'm saying? They had their flaws, but they was pretty solid. So she does know what she's doing. Then you get to some of her other stuff. And this is where it gets a little dicey and stuff. Now, I said before, I made a mistake a long time ago when I said she created Bridesmaid. No, it was The Bachelorette. The Bachelorette. I can't say that word. Was a movie, started a big name cast. It had good reviews. It just didn't make that much money. I think it had like a budget of 3 million or something like that, and it only made 12 million. Didn't do too well financially. Then she did another movie. Now, I'm not at the computer right now, so I don't know what the title of this is. It's something about sleeping with other people. And that movie was a financial bomb. It got really good reviews. People liked it, but financially, it didn't make no money whatsoever. It had a budget of 3 million and only made 3.2 million back. That ain't nothing. So then she made a couple of TV shows. Heathers, the remake, was one of them. Now this show was controversial from the start. Now it's a dark comedy based on a movie. But when there was a tragic school shooting happen, the company that was going to put this show out decided to pull the plug before it came out. After a couple of fans protested and everything, I think another company ended up putting it on their platform, and then it got canceled after one season. Was it canceled because it was terrible, or was it canceled because it was just doomed at like the start, like dead on arrival and everything? Don't know. So don't really know. I've never watched it and I never plan on. Then there is Almost Family, another controversial show that was pretty much dead on arrival before the show even came out. Now this show is based on an Australian show called Sisters. I've reviewed Sisters. I like Sisters, but it wasn't perfect, but it was good and it was different. The problem is the Australian show only lasted for one season before it got canceled. So the American version, American remakes, it's hard to get your footing. It got canceled after one season as well. Now the problem with this, I said it was dead on arrival. Why? Because before it came out, tons of people, like advocate groups and stuff, did not want this show to air. This happened after the Me Too movement. And the show, just like the Australian one, it deals with an older doctor who who works in I don't know what that thing called, where it's you put your stuff in like a sperm bank and then you fertilize the eggs, and people who have a hard time making babies. He decided he's going to take his sperm, and all the patients that came in, instead of getting the sperm that they wanted, he gave them his, and he made 100 babies. So now these kids need to figure out who they're all related to and blah, 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 blah. In Australia, it was a comedy drama. In America, it was just a straightforward drama. This pissed people off, and it was never, ever gonna take off, and it got canceled. But, it's a remake. So she's made 2 remakes that have flopped. So, her resume is a little dicey. You know what I'm saying? There's some good stuff, and then there's just some bad stuff. But then when it comes to that, the acolytes, this was a new field for her. Yes, female-centered, but it wasn't a dark comedy. This was a fantasy, adventure, action drama. And I feel like it might have been too much for her. Because of the simple fact, the pacing was terrible, the character development was terrible. The writing was a little here and there. Like I said, pacing was everywhere. And they tried to sell this whole mystery thing, but it didn't come out very well. It was very confusing. And then they tried to hit you with a cameo at the end, and they also broke a little bit of lore. Now, some people have said she has no business making this because she is not a true Star Wars fan. I don't know if she is or not, but I'll tell you this right here, right now. She did her research. She might be a Star Wars fan, and if not, she had a good consultant because she added things into this show that have never been seen in live action before. It's only been canon to that of the books, the comics, and sometimes the cartoons. And some people say, you shouldn't make that canon because it's not live action. I'm one of those people. I've already said comics and books and cartoons should stay away from live action in terms of canon. I don't like tie-in books or comics or whatever. However, Star Wars fans are somewhat responsible for this. Dave Filoni, he created those animated series and stuff like that, tying it into the live action. And then when he took the animated stuff and then tied it back into live action, you all accepted it and everything. So you got nobody to blame but yourself. And so, like, she introduced a lot of stuff about Star Wars. Like I said before, I'm a casual Star Wars fan. I like lightsabers. I love Star Trek, but Star Wars is a little bit, I'm not too familiar with. And so with that, she introduced things that even I've never heard about, like the bleeding of kyber crystals and stuff. She added that green skinned woman from like the children's book and everything, and a couple of like other stuff. So clearly she knew what she was writing and everything. She had some source material. She looked at it. Or she was just a fan of it, and she was able to incorporate it into her show. So therefore, she knows the lore as some, like in some degree. Unlike the people over at New Star Trek, who I truly feel don't know the first thing about Star Trek, and then they just like watch like one movie or one television show and think this is all it is. Perfect example is Picard and Data. In the first season of Picard, he is crazy over Data, constantly thinking about him, dreaming about him, whatever. Can't get Data out of his mind. But in the television show Next Generation, it was never like that. In fact, it was Geordi who was friends with that of Data, not Picard. Picard and Data rarely interact with each other. It was only in the movies where they decided to buddy those two up. So the New Star Trek people saw this and assumed, oh, this must be like normal for those two to always interact with each other. And a couple other stuff here and there. So I do feel she does have a love for the source material. However, she did fumble that ball and everything. It reminds me a little bit of Reagan from the Olympics, the Australian breakdancer lady. A woman who has constantly been made fun of ever since the Olympics. Even Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, just made fun of her just yesterday on Instagram, imitating her moves in a video. It's that bad where Sabrina the Teenage Witch gotta make fun of you. But anyways, I'm bringing up Reagan for a specific reason. People assume she knew nothing about breakdancing and she just made a complete fool of herself. The people of Australia have literally said they are ashamed and they don't want people knowing they're from Australia. So if they say they're too ashamed to ever go to America, and if they do, they're going to fake their accent. Because Reagan has embarrassed the entire country. Now, I watch videos on Reagan, interviews. She actually does have a love and appreciation for breakdancing and actually knows the history of it way more than me. Like, she knew it started with, like, Black and Hispanic people, competing against one against another in the streets and everything. She knows the different styles and this and that. The problem with her is people hype her up too much, to where she's in her own little bubble world thinking she's the greatest and end up making a fool of herself. I think that's a similar situation with that of Leslie. It's like she has an appreciation for Star Wars. People probably hyped her up too much and she thought she could handle it but couldn't. Now, Was it all her fault? I'm starting to think no. If you know anything about Hollywood, is that people always dipping their toes and stuff, and there be too many cooks in the kitchen. Mostly like people with suits and ties and everything. And sometimes a cowboy hat. See, a lot of fans started getting on to her about like the lesbian witches and stuff. She came out and said, hey, look, that wasn't even my idea. Dave Filoni said incorporate them into the show, which means she had to alter her original plans to incorporate the forced lesbian witches. What was her original concept? We will never probably know, because it was altered to incorporate the lesbian witches. And the lesbian witches is probably something she wasn't that familiar with, only because it's somewhat of a new thing. Like, we saw them in The Mandalorian, at least one of them, and but people don't really know too much about them. So she had to create or co-create this lore with the lesbian witches and stuff. And so now this is starting to make me wonder about like the whole Zack Snyder and the DCEU. Batman v Superman is a movie I hate. It is so confusing. We find out years later that the WB wanted him to add this, wanted him to add that, and all kind of other crap, to where his vision got corrupted and everything. And that is the problem, and people need to always realize that sometimes it's not always the person in charge making these decisions. If a studio or producer wants you to do something, then the simple fact that you have to do it because they are the one paying the bills. Same thing happened to Sam Raimi in the third Spider-Man movie. He did not want Venom, but the studio wanted him to put Venom in there. And we all know how that turned out. Now, people who are actually fans of this show tend to be, from what I've seen online, mostly female. They finally are getting some representation that they have always wanted. Because let's be real, because I know you can't. Star Wars is way too niche. Star Wars is way too white. And Star Wars is way too straight. In the combination of 9 movies, there has only been 3 predominantly black characters, and these characters are all side characters. Everybody else in the movies are all white. Always a white lead, always a white best friend. That's just how it normally is in 9 freaking movies and stuff. And they threw in 1 Asian girl, and of course the black and Asian girl got hated on. Now, I'm going to bring up the black dude in the last trilogy up again, because this is kind of what started this whole hatred of the fandom menace. All it took was 1 black dude taking off his helmet, and they went crazy. But anyways, so some people have finally felt like they have been represented. There are lesbians in the show. There are non-binary people. There are tons of female, They are happy that something they love is finally speaking to them, because George Lucas was unable to do it, and so was Disney until now. So they are kind of pissed off that this show got canceled, and they're even more pissed off that it got canceled like a couple of weeks after the finale and everything. And the thing is that they have brought up some good points. They have literally said that if the first season of Star Trek Next Generation was to come out today, there would have been no other additional seasons. And you know what? They're right. Now, this show came out back in the 80s. I love it. It's like literally it's tied at #1 of my all-time favorite shows. Star Trek Next Generation is the greatest Star Trek show ever. But that first season is garbage. That first season is terrible to where they got canceled. It was the fans that helped get it renewed for additional seasons. If the studio were to have listened to all of the reviews and the bad ratings and stuff, there would be no Star Trek The Next Generation, no movies, no continuations and stuff like that. Probably not even Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and all the other stuff. because it was just that bad of a first season. Now, some people say the show didn't get good until about the third or fourth. I think the second season started to improve, also the third, but of course the fourth season was the best. And it's the same thing about Deep Space Nine. The first the first three seasons were terrible. That fourth season was good. Same thing with Voyager. Voyager didn't start getting good until the fourth season. These studios are no longer giving things time to breathe. They're no longer giving these projects time to build an audience. Once they get the viewership in and it's not what they like, they just up and cancel. And now, because of David Zaslav, they start to pull things from their streaming site. This is what happened to Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion, a Disney Channel superhero show. Ratings weren't that good. They canceled it and then they pulled it from Disney Plus. And you know, it's kind of like, dude, give things time to breathe. Sometimes you're not always going to have a banger, like, you know, in your first try. And when things don't work out, you bring in a new team. This is what Kevin Feige did for the whole Daredevil Reborn series. 4 episodes in, he watched it and he thought it was god awful. So he fired all the writers, all the directors and stuff, and brought in new people. Now he's happy with the product that's about to come out in probably like what, a month or two or something. But then what would have happened if he would have let Disney control him? There probably would not be no Daredevil Reborn. There wouldn't be a new Punisher series coming out, because they just would have, like, you know, let it bomb and let it get canceled and stuff. And you should not do that. Sometimes you got to give things time to breathe. And you also, as a studio, need to see the final product and be like, look, that's not good, and that is confusing. Do reshoots and everything. And if they don't do that, then come a second season, you bring in a new showrunner. Tons of television shows have done that in the past that were not good in their first season. So they fired the showrunner, brought in a new showrunner, and the series got better. Tons of shows have done that, but they're not giving this show a chance. Then they brought up another point. The Mandalorian seems to be the only good Star Wars television series out there. It got 3 seasons, it's getting a movie. It is a very good show because Dave Filoni and what's the other guy named? Jon Favreau, they picked the narrative, they stayed on that narrative, and they told a story around that one narrative. Now it's the other Star Wars series, the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, I like Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was a good show. I don't care what nobody says. That was a good show. However, the show was not perfect. It broke canon. There were some silly moments in there, and the lightsabers were way too bright. But I still justify that was a good series. But Disney decided not to move forward years later. Now, the Boba Fett show, that was a god-awful show. It was boring. It took me forever to watch it, and it only got good when The Mandalorian showed up. And that show, last episode, was in February of 2022. After The Acolyte got canceled, they finally now has officially pulled the plug on the Book of Boba Fett. Nearly 2.5 years later. It took them that long just to cancel that show because they were waiving their options on what they was going to do. But The Acolyte did not get that same treatment. So people are pissed talking about, oh, when the female show that has lesbians in it does bad, Disney is quick to pull that. But the other show about straight men, oh, they take their time and pull that. Same thing with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it is true. It is odd that they would do something like that. And the thing is that, you know, this show got a lot of hate right off the bat. And Disney did not try to do anything to combat that hate. They just took it all in and accepted it. And they literally fed into that hate and gave those haters what they wanted. Now, this show was pretty much dead on arrival from the start. Why? That toxic fan base on YouTube. They gotta attack everything that's diverse. When they heard Leslie Hegland was gonna be a part of this and they found out that one, she's a woman, and two, she's a lesbian, they went on the hate. There was this one female creator who is slowly starting to turn into one of these toxic people. She brought up how Leslie used to be the personal assistant to that of Harvey Weinstein, something I never knew. And because of that, she didn't want that Leslie to work on this show, talking about she thinks Leslie might have known something. Now, we don't know. We have no idea what Leslie knew and what she did not. And so you're innocent until proven guilty and stuff. But this person, because she hates the way Disney keeps messing up all her projects, she just didn't want to give this person like any benefit of the doubt. Then you gotta go to the toxic fandom themselves, which, of course, once again, for the millionth time, is those toxic male YouTubers, those toxic white male YouTubers. It's them. It's always them. Like, I don't get this. Do they not have a life? Are they not dating anybody? Are they not getting any? Like, they are so pathetic to constantly do this crap. It's like they literally have no life. And, you know, it's mainly them. They're the majority of the toxicity that's coming from all this. And there's a couple of scragglers and everything. Couple of women, a couple of people of color, you know, and a couple of people grifting for money. But, you know, the predominantly ones that are doing the most hating are like the men. Of course, it's them. It's always them. They have been hating on this project since they saw what the cast looks like. A diverse group of people of color. A black woman, a black guy, an Asian dude, another Asian guy and everything. And a whole bunch of women. And it's just like they could not help themselves. They had to act like the little scumbags that they are. And everything. They had to act like a bunch of incels. They had to act like a bunch of macho, like, punks and everything. Like, you know, to the point where this show got review bombed before it ever came out. And even when it did came out and stuff, it was just bomb after bomb after bomb. It reminded me a little bit of what happened to She-Hulk. Granted, She-Hulk was not a good show, but they review bombed it before it ever came out. And the thing is, these guys are so prejudiced, and so are some of the females and stuff. And they do it just to hate. They do it just to build up their fan base, and they do it for YouTube money. They didn't like the idea of lesbian witches. They didn't like the idea of one of the stars being non-binary. They didn't like the idea of one of the male stars being gay. They didn't like one of the characters being non-binary. They complained at every given chance that they did. And their minions, their fan base, chimed in as well. Now, I don't watch their channels, but I watch like normal people channels. And in those normal channels, here comes the minions and everything, talking about how this show sucks. Talking about, oh, they're using pronouns in Star Wars now. And blah, 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 blah. And blah, 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 blah. They make their race look terrible. They make their gender look terrible. But they don't care. But there are real ramifications that are happening and stuff because of their evil incel little behinds and stuff. Always using the word woke in the most disgusting way possible. The word woke has lost all its meaning. A word came from black people about the struggles of life and how, like, you know, they're overlooked and like how, like, you know, they're most likely to, like, you know, get shot by a cop and end up in jail like a white person or something like that. Then Hollywood took that and applied it to diverse people and started giving them a platform and everything on like TV, commercials, movies, cartoons. But then here come the white boys and everything. The ones, not all of them, just the ones that hate. The ones that are like, oh, we can't let you have this word and everything. We gotta take it and we gotta make it something evil. Basically, when they use that word, it's the equivalent of them using the N-word and stuff. These people are so hateful to the point where one person literally mocked the hairstyle of, I forget her name, it might be Amanda something, who played Osha and May, mocked her hairstyle, mocked a black hairstyle of, like, you know, long braids and stuff. On the thumbnail, here's a little whiteboard, a big old smile on his face, and here is Osha and May's hair on his head. And it's just kind of like, oh, so that's where y'all going out to the point where you're letting people know, hey, you hate black hairstyles, which is a big problem in Hollywood, because Hollywood just wants to make every black person's hair look like a white people hair back in the day, and to the point where, because it, oh no, it will offend the eyes of white people. Why do I say that? Because it is true. Them mocking Osha and May's hairstyle is literally why Hollywood tell black stars, hey, can you straighten your hair and everything? And the reason why they don't get them black hairstylists. There used to be a cool show called Sister Sister back in the 90s. It was a sitcom. It ran for about 7 seasons or so. The first couple of seasons were on ABC, and when the girls were young teenagers, they had curly hair. Now, Tia and Tamara Mowry are half black and half white. And if you know anything about like biracial black kids' hair, is that it is naturally curly. More curly than that of a natural, like 100% black person and stuff. And it's the nice curls too, right? But then when they started to get older, something happened. Their hair all of a sudden changed. It was just long and straight. And so many years later, Tia decided to explain why that happened. The network literally came to them and wanted them to straighten their hair because it looked a little too ethnic and everything. Because, oh no, if the white people on television see this ethnic hairstyle, they might not watch the show. It might offend their eyes and everything. So they were forced to straighten their hair. I am literally not joking. Came from the words of the actress herself. Well, I embellish a little bit about the whole offending their eyes, but basically they wanted them to straighten their hair because their hair was too ethnic looking and stuff. And this was back in the 90s when black people was more accepted in the world, because, you know, before then we just wasn't. The only time we was really accepted was around like the 1980s and everything. Oi. And so, like, to literally mock Osha and May's hairstyle is literally proving the point of why networks don't like to cast black people in certain projects. The dark-skinned light people. This is why they cast many light-skinned black people who happen to be biracial and look super light-skinned and everything. Not Tia and Tamara's light skin, I mean lighter than that. There's a Disney Channel show called Villains of Valley View. It's a show that is predominantly white, but one Mexican dude plays a white boy and one Italian girl plays a white girl. And then they have 2 black folks. And at first glance, I thought they was white because they are super light skin. And I'm like, oh no, wait, they got some black in them. But I could not tell at a first glance because they look just that white. And this is why Hollywood does this crap. They cast people like this in movies and televisions and this and that. So that, you know, because they're afraid that, oh no, if the white person sees a black person on screen, they might be scared and everything. And so they have to get somebody who's as light as them to make them feel people friendly. And it pisses me off to the point where I hate saying that because it makes it sound like I don't like light-skinned black folks. I do like light-skinned black folks, but I just hate when dark-skinned black folks get overlooked for roles and stuff like that. And, you know, and then they commented on, like, you know, what is it? OSHA talking about the little beaver dude using the pronouns, and you know how they feel about pronouns and everything. And of course, they went crazy over the lesbian witches. If you have a bunch of witches or a bunch of females all living in a group and there's no men, of course, some of them are going to be a lesbian, and mostly probably all of them probably will. But you know what the crazy part of it is? There's this one really toxic person who's part of that little nasty, disgusting, toxic fan base. She's a female. I've spoken to her before in the past. Back when she wasn't super prejudiced and super racist and everything. When she was a little bit milder, and boy, could she lie, could catch her and lies more like, you saying this to me, but you said this in your video. And what's crazy is like she made a video talking about the Star Wars like lesbian witches, right? And it's just kind of like, how you gonna diss them when you yourself is bisexual? You literally came out years ago on Twitter and said that. So it's kind of like, oh, so now you're turning your back on your own community, the LGBT community, because you are in fact a bisexual. You literally tug and rug and everything, like literally, but yet you're dissing your own people. This just proves you don't have an opinion of your own, and you're literally just sprouting off the same thing these men are saying because you want to be part of that group and everything, and you want to cater to the hateful audience that, like, you know, pay your Patreon or give you super chat money and like give you views or give you YouTube money and stuff. You literally stand for nothing. And that's how a lot of these toxic people are. And then their minions are all like, how dare you criticize them? It's their opinion. It's their First Amendment right, and blah, blah, blah. And people are allowed to have opinions. You are so right. People are allowed to have opinions. This is America, and you do have that First Amendment right. However, just because you can say something doesn't mean you have to say something. Sometimes you just shut your big damn mouth and let other people have an opinion. And when your opinion is not a valid opinion, but your opinion is literally that of talking about, I don't like lesbian witches. Oh, why she gotta be black? Oh, why he has to have that black hairstyle? Or like, you know, woke this and woke that, and oh, all this DEI and everything, and blah, 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 woke. That is not an opinion. That is literally just hating for the fact of hating. So it really sucks when you have all these mindless people watching your videos, defending you and everything, and talking about let them have their opinion. There is no opinion. They literally have not made an opinion. And then when you ask them, why didn't you like this? Oh, it's woke. Okay, well, what else? But it's woke. And it's like, that's not an opinion. You're literally sprouting off the same thing all these other idiots are saying because you have no mind of your own and you have no valid opinion. You are literally the epitome of a jackass and everything. And this entire cast and the showrunner has received so much hate that it is insane. Just as bad as, like, you know, that Black Little Mermaid did. But you know what? Once they tire out, once a couple of weeks have passed from this, they're going to move on. Of course, they're going to move on to Snow White, the live action version, because they took a break from that. Because not much information has come out until the trailer came out, because the movie's coming out soon. Now you know how much they hated on Snow White. They have been hating on that movie for years, and the movie hasn't even came out yet. They don't like that Snow White is half Latina. They don't like the fact that the actress literally said she doesn't want to be saved. Her version of Snow White doesn't want to be saved by a man. Oh, here come the incels and everything. How dare she say she don't want to be saved by a man? Who does she think she is? A strong woman? I kid you not. That is literally what they say and stuff like that. And they are so offended. A group of grown men in their 40s and 50s are so offended by a Black Little Mermaid and a Latino Snow White. Either they really love those projects or there's hating for the sake of hating, or these are some extreme soft men, some big old snowflakes, and who are really hiding who they truly are. 'Cause I said this before. Sometimes the loudest screamers, from what they screaming about things they hate, they are literally that themselves. Think about it. If they hate women and they hate people of color, then most likely, what else is for them to like? White, straight men. And you know who likes men? Disney is scared to the point of losing money, losing viewerships, because Disney has had a bad year. Because of all these angry little white dudes and everything, and once it reached politics and stuff, they started going after woke. They started going after Disney. And literally, it's to the point where they have boycotted Disney, to where Disney has lost a lot of money and stuff. So now Disney is panicking and trying to cater to those people to bring them back. And it's kind of like, this literally shows you have no real intentions of diversifying your cast and your projects if you're literally going to go back to white. And if you're literally going to cater to all of these ignorant men that don't like you to begin with. Why do people always let evil, white, hateful men win at everything? I do not understand when it comes to that of politics, when it comes to that of women's bodies, when it comes to that of race. They want to control everything. And I mean everything that's not like them. And it's to the point to where Disney decided, okay, look, this show isn't getting that good viewership. People aren't liking this show. Let's just scrap this thing after it's done and just be done with it. And that's what they did. They literally canceled this show a couple of weeks after its finale. And people asked themselves, yo, they didn't do this to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they didn't do this to the Book of Boba Fett. It literally took years, like I said before, for Boba Fett to get canceled, because they were still weighing out their options and stuff. But when it comes to this show, they just got rid of it really fast because so many people was hating on it. And now it's to the point where their merch has literally disappeared. This was shocking when I saw this on Twitter, where people literally said they erased all the merch from their Disney store of the Acolyte. Now, I don't know why they did that. Some people say it's because they wanted to change the price, so they had to take it down and change the price. Couldn't they do that while still keeping it up? I mean, I've seen prices change where the thing literally stays up and they don't have to take nothing down on other sites. So why here? But then once people got onto that, next thing you know, it popped right back up on their site. And they only have 4 shirts. Now, what's really interesting about that is I saw a tweet. This one dude pre-ordered his shirt about a month or so ago. And he said, I think it said something like I'm not at the computer right now, so I can't read word from word. But basically, it got canceled or something like that. And this was when the show was still in production and everything. It was still airing and stuff. And so this is way before it ever got canceled. They literally pulled the plug on this show from the get-go. Very similar to the whole Jonathan Majors thing in the MCU. It's now been revealed that the dude who, Robert Downey Jr. was in talks to bring him in to play Doom a year ago while what's his name was on trial and everything. They were done with the Kane character just like that because he didn't make that much of an impact in that Ant-Man movie. Duh, it's Ant-Man and stuff. So that literally shows you they could care less about what they're putting out. And the thing is, it is hurting to people who actually like this show. The women who actually like this show, the LGBT who actually like this show, and the people of color who actually like this show, because they saw themselves in a franchise where they rarely get to see themselves and everything. And Disney's just kind of like, look, we don't care what you like. If we're not making money off this, then we don't care. And that's really what it's all about. And it's so shameful and everything. And like, and of course, those toxic people, this is a huge win for them. Now, of course, they're making their hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos like a day of talking about how like this is awesome and how they told everybody this show sucks and how diversity is ruining everything and how wokeness is killing Star Wars and everything. If you don't have a good writer, if you don't have a good director, and if you don't have a good showrunner, you ain't gonna have a good project. And that is what is going on in all this recent Star Wars stuff that has been coming out. But now they have taken their hatefulness a step too far, to the point where now if there's a Star Wars project that didn't do so well and they hate it, but somebody else likes it, they will literally target that person, make a video about that person, and berate them on YouTube. There's this girl who, I guess she has like a TikTok and YouTube channel, and she used to have Twitter. All she said was she likes the show and it sucks it got canceled. She got hate comment after hate comment after hate comment, the way she took her Twitter down. But then she realized something. She saw videos of herself popping up on other people's channels making fun of her because she likes Star Wars. This is literally lynch mobbing and everything. This is literally the new form of hate. This is literally a bunch of YouTubers literally wearing white hoods and everything and white cloaks and going out and terrorizing people. This is what this has become, and YouTube has allowed this because it makes their platform look good when people get tons of views, tons of subscribers, and tons of activity going to their channel. Then they can tell their big stockbrokers, hey, look at all this we got coming through. Not really realizing or caring that it's hate content and everything, which goes against their guideline rules and stuff. Because, something happened years ago about kids watching YouTube channels and their parents realizing they're watching a lot of hateful stuff. This is why, because they had to go to court for this, this is why they implemented these rules where you can't say certain words on YouTube and you can't do certain stuff on YouTube. And you always have to mark your video if it's kid friendly or not. And if you break those rules, then if it's made for kids and then it's shown not to be, you can have your channel deleted and stuff, or the video deleted and stuff. And some people have. But yet they allow these toxic people to flourish and everything because they're bringing in the most views and the most activity. Something bad one day is going to happen from this, because that one girl literally said she suffers from depression and anxiety and mental health. What if she was to do the ultimate thing? And you know what I mean by that. And then her family gets like a class action lawsuit. They're going to sue the crap out of YouTube. But of course, they're just going to say that, these people have freedom of speech. At some point in time, the court system is not going to care about that no more, because people are deliberately bullying people and targeting them and making them into like a target for other people to bully and stuff. And because, think about what happened to that Star Wars kid 20 years ago who had those double lightsabers and made that video. And then people posted it online making fun of him. He got money in the bank. Look at that one female boxer from the Olympics who has the X and Y chromosome. She has now taken 3 billionaires and about to take them to court because they made fun of her and everything. And they constantly put a target on her back to where other people started attacking her. Like, this is literally against the law and against morals and everything. But these people don't care because they have now stepped it up one step further and everything. And it's going to get worse. It's literally going to cause somebody to get hurt. And when they do, YouTube will be blamed for this, but YouTube ain't gonna go down swinging. They're gonna go after those toxic channels that help bring on whatever violence that's probably gonna happen, or whatever depression is gonna happen, or whatever lawsuit's gonna happen. You think YouTube gonna go down without a fight, without like swinging and everything, because a bunch of toxic men are like bullying people online and everything? Heck nah. They gonna get their money's worth out of that, and they gonna go after those YouTube channels and stuff. Because literally people are getting sick and tired of this crap. It's even to the point where they affect the way the outcome of a movie and stuff. Like Little Mermaid. Yeah, Little Mermaid had problems, but the toxic people helped with those problems even worse. They literally go after every project that's like female based, or like diverse based, or like people of color or sexuality or whatever, because they know that there are tons of hateful people in this world who will watch their videos, and they know that they can either say whatever they want and lie, and these people will believe them because there is a sucker born every stinking day and everything. And that is what they bank on. They learned from politicians and they applied it to YouTube and stuff. I literally have not seen people go after other people on YouTube like this in over 10 years with those review boob girls and that whole Mr. Purple Zero versus Spearmint thing. Like, that was over 10 years ago and crap. And they do it because they are literally hateful. They are now the equivalent of like skinheads and everything. That is literally who they are now. And they make it known that they are prejudiced people and stuff. And they make themselves, their race and their gender and their groups look horrible. But they don't care because YouTube just gives them money and stuff. And just like they tried to ruin the Barbie movie, which they could not, because Barbie made a buttload of money. Why? It's like I said before. Billions of females around the world was not about to let a bunch of angry, racist, incel white guys on YouTube ruin their best friend for them. Barbie was their best friend growing up. There was no way in the world they were gonna let that tank. And now some of the Star Wars fans that like the Acolyte are trying to get this show renewed with this whole change.org thing. They've reached so many signatures in literally 2 or 3 days to where they almost now have reached their goal. Will Disney listen to them? Who knows and everything. But if Disney does reverse the decision to renew this show, a lot of changes have got to be made. Either Leslie is going to have to like pull a miracle out of her butt or something like that, or they're gonna have to fire her and get a new capable showrunner of handling this subject matter. Because like I said before, she's used to female-led dark comedy shows. This is not this, and she was out of her league and everything. And for all those toxic people that keep saying things like representation doesn't matter, it's about the story, or you should cast like, you know, the best like actor or actress, and DEI casting is the worst thing. Well, if representation does not matter, why do you crap your pants every time you don't see a white person on screen? Why do you crap your pants when they race bend a person from white to like another race? Why did y'all get bent out of shape when you saw a black stormtrooper? Why do y'all get bent out of shape when you see a Latino Snow White? Why do you get bent out of shape when you see a black Little Mermaid? If representation technically does not matter and everything. Like, apparently it does, because you just want to see a white person on screen. And that really is the reality of everything. And when you don't get what you want, then you want to control the narrative, because that's what your people have been doing since the beginning of time. Y'all want to control everything in every stinking body. And it's really disgusting. And like I said before, all you're doing is acting like your ancestors, the people you claim that, like, you're not acting like, and all this other crap. But when it comes to things like politics and you're starting to rewrite history so people don't even know what happened in the past, and then y'all start like getting rid of like black books and all this other crap, you are literally acting like your ancestors. This is why, if you was to ask any person of color what is the worst race in the world, 9 out of 10 of them will say white people, because this is literally how you act. You are supposed to be better than this. At one point in time, y'all were better than this. Then something crazy happened to y'all, and y'all have been acting nuts for over the past 10 or 15 years and crap. And I don't get it. Like, I seriously just don't get it. You don't want other people to be happy because you're not happy and stuff. And like I said before, this was not a very good show. It had potential, and there were some good moments in the show. But trying to help ruin this show, to help try to get it canceled, and to, like, badmouth it and lie about it and everything, like, it's just ridiculous and stuff. Like, seriously, this is why people do not like you. This is why people think y'all are scum and everything. When you hop on YouTube and make your 100 videos a day denouncing things like diversity and stuff. And we now live in a world where if the ratings aren't good enough, like, networks and studios just pull shows out of nowhere. They don't give things time to breathe. And it's basically like Disney is giving these toxic YouTubers a win and everything for them to celebrate, because Disney is scared and is trying to appease them and everything. I don't get how we're going backwards in time. And when I say y'all make up stuff and lie and y'all aren't happy about nothing, I mean, y'all now want George Lucas to come back. But oh no, wait, remember he ruined Star Wars with the prequels and constantly editing the original trilogy and everything. So y'all kicked him out, and then y'all got Disney, and now you don't want Disney no more, so now you want to kick them out and everything. I mean, there are literally Star Wars fans who made videos complaining about, like, the lightsaber bleeding and everything and turning red. Something that has been canon in, like, the books or something like that for a while. Y'all got something y'all always wanted to see, but then yet you complain about it only because you don't like this female LGBT-led show. Are you even really a fan? Like, seriously, because if a man would have made it, and if the show was something y'all like, y'all would have been like going nuts and everything if it was in the other direction. And the cast does not deserve this hate. They simply do not. It's so bad that so many of the cast members had to, like, set their, like, Instagram to, like, not private, but to where nobody could comment or nobody can email them. That is how bad the hate has got. It is literally what happened with the new trilogy. The new diverse cast, y'all ripped to shreds, to why that Asian girl just literally got off Twitter and everything. And the black dude, like, he doesn't even want to be a part of Star Wars no more because of how hateful y'all are. Y'all have literally shown people your true colors. You are no different than your ancestors. Plain and simple as that. So stop saying you're nothing like them and you're better, because you're not. I've said a million times, I hate new Star Trek. I hate Star Trek Discovery and Lower Decks. I don't go around harassing the cast, and I don't go around harassing the people who actually enjoy those shows and stuff. I just let it be what it be. I say my piece of what is wrong with the show, and it's never about diversity. It's about other stuff like writing or like how they change, like, the canon and everything. And I leave it at that. But y'all can't do that because y'all are little monsters. And you can't go back now to how y'all used to be, because your little toxic little followers you got will not stand for that crap, and they will berate you and everything and talk about how you're a sellout or how you're soft or how you become woke and everything. So y'all literally can't even go back in time, because there are some that literally want to and everything and stop making hate content, but they can't and everything. Y'all have literally created a monster. You know, this kind of reminds me of wrestling a little bit. It's kind of like when a company does not give their star time to learn their craft and shine, and then they fire them. Take WWE, the biggest wrestling company there is, right? Gail Kim, years ago, was introduced into WWE. In her first match, she won the women's title and everything. But her first run in WWE was horrible. She was just terrible as a wrestler in the WWE. And it made people wonder, how the heck did she even get, like, you know, a contract and everything? Well, it was revealed that good old JR told Vince that, you know, people love Asian women, right? And so, you know, Vince hired her and stuff. But then, you know, she couldn't cut the mustard. She got fired and went to TNA and became one of the greatest women wrestlers and champions of all time. And she was able to thrive in another company because she was given more time to train and practice and learn her craft and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like, okay, if the show wasn't good in the first season, then get a new showrunner to teach, you know, the writers and stuff what to do and make the show better. And it's kind of like other wrestlers do the same thing. Like, they get fired from WWE, they go to like a different company, and then they explode in the other company and they make a name for themselves, you know. And because they was given time for the fans to get used to him and everything, and to appreciate what they brought. And this kind of reminds me of what happened with this show. It's just like, it wasn't the best. It got canceled. It wasn't given time to breathe. It had a short episode count. And, you know, we are now where we are now. So this whole acolyte cancellation thing has just taken one weird twist after another, after another, after another. And it's literally just like what's been going on in today's society in nerd fandom. Because I said before, this all started the moment that trailer dropped and they saw a stormtrooper take off his helmet and to be revealed to be a black man. Those Star Wars fans lost their minds, because in their movies, they don't want to see no people of color, and if they do, they have to be the most minute side character ever, like Lando or Mace Windu. Somebody who only pops in, pops out, and that's it. Not be a main character in like the movie. Because these movies have literally catered to white people. That is George Lucas' fault. But George Lucas don't see that, even though he's married to a black woman. He thinks his movie has diversity because he adds a black man and he adds a woman. One per franchise, one per trilogy and everything. That is not enough. That is literally not enough. He created a monster, and now the monsters are literally turning into the devil. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.